All right, we turn our attentions back to marketing efforts around the globe for U.S. meat products. Joining us now is Dan Halstrom, Senior Vice President, Marketing Communications for the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Dan, thank you for joining us. We were talking with Phil about the work that goes on around the world. It is extensive. Kind of give us an overview of the marketing approach that you use to establish these market opportunities around the globe.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'd love to. I think the real key is that with 96% of the world's population living outside the U.S. And with 7 billion people in the world today, expected to grow to 9 billion by 2050 or sooner, I think the real key to what USMEF tries to do is our foreign office infrastructure. We have 17 offices around the world. We have 60-some employees outside the U.S. In all cases, they're foreign nationals that live in the countries. They speak the language, they know the culture, and they're watching what's going on every day, not only with our products, but with our competition's products around the world. So I think this is the way that we keep the heartbeat of what's going on and identify those trends and how to maximize value. And I think that's really the key that we're talking about is our marketing programs are unique. These 17 offices sell to over 100 countries through the course of the year, beef, pork, and lamb products. And I think value is the key. How do we increase the value? And one of the things we're focused on is putting the right cut in the right market to maximize that value. And that's really the cornerstone of what we're trying to do.
Because what might be the popular cut in the United States might not be the popular cut in another country we're trying to sell to.
Exactly right. And I'll give you a good example. Things like pork feet. Something as simple as a pork foot. There's some demand in the U.S., but virtually, I'd say 90% or more of the pork feet are exported out of the U.S., and that's just on a volume basis. If you look at value, it wasn't too long ago back in the early 90s where there was no value for the pork foot. We were rendering it as an industry. Last year, thanks mainly to China and some other markets, but China was the driver, the pork foot was worth $1.30 per pound.
So obviously there's value that we have gained there that if we counted just on the domestic market probably wouldn't have. So that shows the importance of this market development work. Well, let's look at some of these markets. Let's look right just south of the United States. Let's go to Mexico, a key market.
Yeah, Mexico is definitely our key market. It's the largest volume market on both beef and pork. It's a growing market this year on pork especially. We're up 15% year to date with about 560 million pounds through 5 months. And, this is a good example. It's a very strong market for pork hams, for example. I'd say, 2/3 of the volume is probably hams that goes down for further processing. There's other items, variety meats, pork feet go there as well, and some other items. On a beef side, it's more of a integrated chain of products. It's middle meats, it's end cuts. It's once again, it's maximize the value, put the right product in the right market. But I'll give you an example of a success story in Mexico that's been developed, the industry has developed over the years, and Costco, retail chain here in the U.S., has 32 warehouses throughout Mexico, and 100% of their beef and pork is imported from the U.S. in the retail stores. So that's just one example of how partnership with the industry has really worked out well.
Let's go further south. Let's go to Central South America. What are our markets there?
Well, Central South America is exciting. I just returned from there 2 weeks ago, actually, and this is a good example of the very entry-level market where we're putting one of our basic things we try to do is put buyer and seller together in these new emerging markets. And on the pork side, Colombia is the big market, Colombia and Chile, but Colombia in particular has had fantastic growth. On the beef side, Peru and Chile are really leading the way. Well, what we did is we had what we call a Latin American showcase. We had it in Bogota, Colombia. We had roughly 25 exporters, packers, traders, etc., that were represented there, and we had 50 end users from around the region from 10 different countries, not only Chile, Colombia, Peru, other places, Honduras, Guatemala, etc. And this was basically a 2-day event where we had seminars on beef and pork, merchandising, handling, cold chain management, and then we had a showcase where we actually had 4 hours where the buyers and sellers actually conducted business. So a good example of a very entry-level region where we're really making strides.
And a good example of the work that has to be done to develop a market. Now, I want to talk about Australia. We think primarily of Australia often as a competitor out in the global market, but what about them as a customer for U.S. meat products?
Well, yeah, they are a big competitor on the beef side, but on the pork side, they're a very big customer. And we enjoyed a lot of success over the years. We can only export fresh pork for further processing or pre-cooked pork, one or the other. We can't go in directly into retail. But despite that obstruction, we're still seeing growth. In 2004, when we really entered the market, we were about $10 million in sales from the U.S. Last year in 2011, we were close to $205 million in sales. So just another example where, and a big items going down there would be pork hams, pork loins, things like this. Putting just a few products in there that's adding a tremendous amount of value.
Dan, thank you very much. Dan Halstrom, Senior Vice President of Marketing Communications for the U.S. Meat Export Federation.